Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I want to apologize to the people who come to this channel for first impressions of video games and not board games like Blue Boards. I didn't want to make that a regular series, but I do want to do it from time to time, or random dips into Flashpoint, which not many people watch, or the Gundam Breaker Let's Play, because I've just been having a really tough time getting games to the point where I feel comfortable about doing a video on them. Because I always end up, at least recently, with these major problems that just overshadow everything else in the game. And I find myself thinking, I'm going to ramble about this for 10 minutes, and it's going to be the most boring video imaginable. So the videos just kind of end up falling off my list of videos to do, even after I've bought them. And it kind of results in me not being able to do every single game that I might be interested in. I thought I might do that Famicom Detective Club, but then I looked at my wallet and I was like, oh, that's a problem. So yeah, that's kind of the reason why it's been a bit lightweight on the usual gameplay first impressions in the last couple of weeks. And up until the 27th, at least, that's not going to change, because that's when the games I'm actually looking forward to start coming out again. So, sorry about that. So I thought I'd make it up to you with this video, which is a video of me talking about the games that I tried to play, but ended up dropping for one reason or another. There's going to be 3 of them, and then we'll talk about the game that has footage going in the background right now. This is Devilated, but yeah, this is also a game that I wanted to throw in here because I wasn't going to do a video on it either, and then I was like, I need to do something, otherwise I'm not going to have any videos for this week. So that'll be at the very end. I'll leave timestamps for just the first 3 games and then Devilated, but I'll warn you right now, there's only 7 minutes of footage of Devilated because I couldn't be bothered to get any more footage. If that doesn't give you an idea of how much I appreciated it, well, I don't know what will. So, again, timestamps in the description, but let's get on to the 3 games that I dumped and didn't do a video on in general because I just couldn't bring myself to do it without making a repetitive video. So, Nier Replicant. Yep, version 1.22 something 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 or other. This is a game that I thought I was going to like. A lot of people really appreciated the story. That seems to be the main thing that comes up every time. But the one thing that they don't really talk about is the gameplay, and that is because the gameplay is a bore. It is an absolute chore to play through. So, at the very beginning, you get that typical RPG thing where you get all your powers, you get to play around with them for a little bit, and then they take them away and put you in the proper story. And then the proper story ends up being incredibly boring. I played 6 hours in Nier Replicant. That's usually enough for me to say, okay, do I want to do a video on this or not? What's my opinions going to be? And all I was going to say is that it's a bore, it's a bore, it's a bore. The main quest, fetch quests, all the way through. It does take you to different areas and let you see them, and the game does have a unique style going for it, and there are some neat places to visit, like the city that's embedded in this on the sides of this giant chasm. There's the seafront, which is just a kind of a nice place to be. But all the in-between is just these really flat areas with uncreative combat. And unless you're going through like a dungeon, of which there was like 1 in the gameplay that I played, yeah, you're just going to be running back and forth across that, and it is boring as hell. There are some giant bosses. They're fun to fight, but you don't want to get close to them because they deal a ton of damage if they hit you. And most of them can only realistically hit you that way because you're actually pretty good at dodging and jumping. So you just end up hanging back a lot and just consistently firing away at the machine gun power-up that you've got. The side quests are even worse when it comes to fetch quests versus the main quest because it's almost always go kill some things and get their resources, or run across to another town with this package for me. Or the absolute worst one, run across to this town with this package for me, but you can't roll, or jump, or get hit. So you're basically just trying to dodge a bunch of enemies along the way, and if you get hit even once, or you forget that you can't dodge in order to get into run faster, well, great. You get to basically just go screw yourself. Go back to the beginning, get the package and try again. God, I hate it. All of the side quests are like that, and they basically give you nothing in the way of resources, and it's infuriating. I did unlock access to the garden, but that was about the 5 hour, 30 minute mark, so I can't really tell you about that. But the one thing outside of the fetch questy nature of the entire game that I don't like is the combat. Because they changed it. When it was on PS3, it actually looks kind of neat, kind of heavy, a bit jank, but I don't mind a bit of jank. If anything, it gives it a little bit of flavor when applied in just the right amount. This is directed by the same guy who did Nier Automata's combat, which means he's a Platinum Games guy. And I hate Platinum Games combat. Like, I've come to realize it after playing like 4 or 5 of their games, but pretty much every single one of their games I can recall has been something along the lines of you hit an enemy and they react like they've been hit with a pool noodle, but immediately snap back to normal, and you have to consistently hit them in order to get them to do anything. And even then, it's hard to properly stun them or do anything along those lines because they just constantly just snap back into place and they're able to attack through your attacks. And I hate it when games do that. It's so annoying to me personally. But just the worst part of it all is just how floaty it feels. How little impact you have with every single swing, with how much you jump and dodge, how much it just feels like... It doesn't feel like this at all. It feels like you're in basically no danger most of the time. Unless you're playing on hard difficulty, in which case they'll just, like, tap you once and you're dead. But, yeah, I can't stand the combat. I legitimately find it to be an absolute bore, just because it's a Platinum Games game, and it feels exactly the same as all the other Platinum Games games I've played. Bayonetta, Revengeance, and, fuck, what was the other one? Nier Automata, funnily enough. Man, I wish I had heard that, the combat director of, Nier Automata was going to be the guy working on this one, otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. Simple as that, really. But yeah, that was game number 1. Game number 2, MLB The Show 21. Because I like baseball. I like watching the compilations on YouTube, and I'm more than happy to get into a good baseball game, because there really is nothing more satisfying than getting that perfect hit and sending it out over the line for a home run. It's the reason why I've been keeping the gacha game for the Pro Yaku Spirits series on my phone, because I do enjoy just getting that nice swing off every now and again. And the MLB The Show series has some really neat stuff, like the single-player RPG mode, where you play through and you level up your dude. You've got a lot of different skills you can use. Diamond Dynasty, with a lot of different, like, sub-modes that you can go through in order to try and level up your team, and a couple of other things around the outside, and I can't hit the ball. I cannot, for the life of me, hit the ball when it remotely matters. I spent 2 hours on batting practice, just constantly hitting every different kind of ball that I could imagine. But as soon as I get back into the main game, nothing. I'm swinging through them. I'm swinging away from them. Hell, I can't even tell when they're going to be outside the zone. Because every single ball I swear is going to be inside the zone ends up being outside the zone, and I just can't hit it. I have, again, 2 hours in practice, and it was impossible for me to tell where the balls were going to be. I put the dynamic difficulty on. Hell, I even turned it down a fair bit. I still can't tell. I don't know what my problem is. I don't know if I'm just retarded, but for the life of me, I cannot hit the goddamn ball. And considering that I've never been a particular fan of pitching in any baseball game whatsoever, I mean, pitching in this game works fine, except for the pinpoint pitching thing. That's just jank. That's a massive jank. Over-precise jank. But even just like the regular kind of pitching I can deal with in that game, it's fine. I've never been a particular fan of pitching, but I just can't hit hits. I just can't hit balls. I don't know why. And as a result, I find myself hating it. I mean, again, in comparison to Nier Replicant, this is probably my fault. I don't know if I just need to put more time into batting practice or what, but I can't hit the ball. And even after a fair few hours in it, I still can't hit the ball. I can't tell when it's going to be a ball. I can't tell when it's going to be a strike. I can't tell what the pitch types are going to be. And it would be me just being like, hey, I suck at this game for 30 minutes as part of the video, and that's the reason why I dropped it. Resident Evil Village. I was going to buy it. I was very thankful for the opportunity to try out the demo on the PlayStation 5, because it's a very nice looking game. The monsters are pretty scary. The puzzles look interesting. It's the most motion sick I've been playing a game in years. I can put on my VR headset, play something like Sirento, and backflip constantly for 10 minutes. And I mean literal backflip. They literally let you go up and over, and it's an actual full-on backflip. And I will still be less motion sick doing that for 10 minutes straight than I will be playing Resident Evil Village. Holy fuck. I have no idea what they did to the controls, what they did to the field of view, what they did to the way the game draws its graphics, but it is so bad. And admittedly, this might be because I'm playing it on a monitor and I was playing the PlayStation 5 version, so it might have that low field of view. But even then, I've played other things like first-person shooters on the PlayStation 5 just fine on this monitor. It's just this one game that has set me off to no end, and it is unbelievably bad. Like, I don't even remember the last time an FPS on console on a monitor like this made me motion sick that badly. And this isn't even really an FPS, because it's Resident Evil Village. The pace is supposed to be a fair bit slower, and even then, like 10 minutes into the 30-minute demo, I was pausing the game thinking, man, why do I feel so sick? I looked away from the monitor for 5 minutes. All right, I'm better. Played for 10 more minutes. And yeah, by the way, the timer still counted down when you were paused. Fuck that. Then I looked back. I played for 5 more minutes. I was like, no. If I do any more of this, I'm going to fucking hurl. This is absolutely awful. So, yeah, after that, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not buying Resident Evil Village. I still haven't even played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, but man, it was bad. Yeah, again, haven't been that motion sick in what feels like years. So, take that how you will, but definitely not a game I'd recommend to people who are even remotely motion sick when field of view issues come up, because man, it is just awful. Absolutely awful. And now, speaking of the games that are awful, let's talk about Devilated, because after all of the games this month that have gone and just, like, not become a video and have just failed for whatever reason or another, I thought to myself, alright, let's try some random indie stuff. And I actually got a center review code for this around the time that I was thinking that, so I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll give it a go. It looks alright. It's awful. The gameplay is just awful. So, you know how in a first-person shooter you need to know where the enemies are, right? One of my major problems with Devilated is that you can't see or hear them until they're right on top of you sometimes. There are more than a couple of situations in this game where enemies that are entirely based on melee attacks will hit you from behind and you will not know they're coming until they are on you and hitting you. And you know what the worst thing is about being hit in this game by default is? When you get hit in this game on the default settings that the game picks for you, the entire screen turns into a black and white, film smushed, completely invisible mess. And by invisible, I mean you literally can't see what's past all the fucking effects that are on the screen. It's so terrible. You legitimately can't tell when you're going to get the shit shot out of you, because you so much as take one hit and you're blinded for a good 30 seconds or so, because more enemies are going to start hitting you. And it's really bad. But you want to know what else is really bad? The balance of the combat when it comes to ammunition. You start with one pistol that has infinite ammo, but it's really weak. Then you get a bunch of other guns that all suck because they all fire like 3 or 5 shots with one click of the mouse, and they're all really unwieldy to use, at least from the few guns that I managed to find, because this is like an RPG where you find weapons on the ground and you pick them up and use them. But here's the trick. They've all got limited ammo, and you can't refill their ammo most of the time. So you'll end up in a situation where you've run your ammo dry on 3 guns, you've got no room for more in your inventory, and you've got to go up against a bunch of enemies that are either ranged or melee and can really knock the shit out of you, because going melee in this game is basically unviable. Everything does so much damage to you. Everything just knocks you back, stuns you, does whatever the goddamn hell it does. And it is immensely unsatisfying to try and fight melee as a result, especially when everything else can hit melee, can hit you, and can hit you harder than you can hit them. You do get a kick to knock them away, but at the same time, if you're down to a melee weapon, you're going to kick them away, and then what? They're just going to come back and you're going to kick them again? So that's kind of unviable. So as a result, you really end up leaning on the bloody bullet time that it's got going on, that you unlock as like your first or your second unlock, because this game does have a little bit of leveling. Every time you finish a level, you can get things like extra inventory slots, more moves and what have you, but none of them will really help you out in the long run. But what really sucks is the health system. So this game is trying to be one of those sort of retro FPSs, a la a Medieval, Ultra Kill, Ion Fury, what was the other one? Dusk. But it really sucks at that because your health is really limited. You pick up these health potions, which you can use at any time in order to refill your health, but they're extremely rare to get. Extremely rare to get. So you'll find yourself running out of potions pretty quick, and you'll find yourself running out of ammo really quick. So you'll use the gold that you've been picking up by killing enemies and getting chains in order to increase your multiplier for gold. And you'll be using that to buy ammo, and you'll be using it to buy health potions. To refill all the ammos on your guns, which means that you'll be able to get them through at least one level, costs about 5,000 gold, and you're lucky to get 2,000 on one run of a level. It's bloody ridiculous. And that's just the ammo and the durability of your guns and your melee weapons. In order to get health potions, those cost even more. Sometimes you'll get like one mid-level heal and a couple of potions, but that'll be about it. Then there'll be a boss at the end of the level, but you'll need to heal up in order to... there'll be a statue that'll give you a couple of health potions, but you'll still probably die anyway, because you'll need to learn the patterns. And here's the thing. If you die and respawn in this game, all the enemies will get respawned, but your ammo won't be refilled. So it'll be even worse. You do, of course, also have the ability to manually save and reload, but if you can't get through with that kind of ammo, you're basically just going to be grinding for gold forever. You do have the ability to warp back to what they call your stronghold, and you do keep the gold that you get after you die, but again, you earn it so slowly that it feels like you'll just be endlessly grinding against the same maps in order to earn the ammo and the health that you'll need in order to get through later maps. And it's just, no. Most of the weapons feel terrible. Most of the level designs are these really archaic pieces of bullshit. Like, you'll have to be constantly looking. Like, you'll go through a gate, and you'll get two directions. One contains the key, and one will let you loop back around and go back to where you're going. That happens more often than it should. And the game is also full of tight corners and other sorts of bullshit where enemies will be hiding, and again, you won't hear them coming. Some enemies have some, like, voice cues, but the music mix starts out so loud that the little ones that are there, you're not going to be able to hear, because you'll just be hearing from the metal soundtrack, and it sounds terrible. It's just a cacophony of noise at this point. It's not really worth the effort. And, nah, it's just an overall frustrating experience. I wouldn't recommend it in the slightest. I'm sorry, dude, who offered me the review key. I start from scratch. That's all I got. Everything about this game is just junk, in my personal opinion. Even the look. Again, it doesn't really help when you get hit and you're practically blinded in every way imaginable. But it's just so much brown and grey and unpleasantness that, hell, it makes some enemies really hard to spot. There are these little head crab-like things that jump at you and bite you that are almost impossible to see until they're right on top of you. And there are these, like, shiny metallic enemies that, again, are just, like, really unpleasant to look at, and they can kind of blend in with the background sometimes. As a result, I feel like I'm just constantly relying on the clutch that is the slow motion. Oh, you know what the worst thing is? There's an aim down sight button. Well, it's not really an aim down sight button, it's just a zoom button that you shoot slower, but you've got more accurate long range shots. It's on the left control key, which just is immensely uncomfortable. And I couldn't tell you why he made that kind of binding decision. I would have done something like have shift be the bullet time key and have right click be the zoom in key. But, I mean, it's got rebindable control, so you can fix that. It is a PC game, but it's still just a really weird choice of control scheme, and I couldn't tell you why he made it. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed me being really annoyed at the games I've been trying to play over the past month for the last 20 minutes. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll try to have more proper gameplay out for you next week, but no promises. Might just end up being another week like this one. I'll see you all next time.